You might not think that a few simple words can make you crave McDonald's breakfast sandwiches. But if you listen closely to the sound of me saying McGriddles, McMuffin, you might be wrong. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Get the trench coat out. Expose yourself to nerds.
Christopher Media. Let's make some noise. From Asthmacore Studios near Detroit, Michigan, it's Unregimented.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
Show number 142. I am Chris.
I'm Aaron.
I am Erik.
Thanks for joining us again, Erik.
Well, thank you, guys.
Erik and I were just jiving a little bit about jobs. I'm getting a new job.
Oh,
changing jobs.
Congratulations.
Yoga pants.
No.
We were.
Yoga pants?
Yoga pants.
Yeah.
Wait,
Birmingham
throw
women.
back to the last episode. Maybe that is proof of a creator.
I don't know who had the idea, but
Yeah.
pretty brilliant.
When I stare in the yoga pants, though, I only see myself in them. Uh-oh.
Give the man his rim
Really
shot.
shiny ones?
Yeah. Leather yoga pants.
Ooh.
Yeah, jobs?
Jobs.
I don't know.
Yeah. that just came out, right? Jobs?
No,
Jobs?
not the
Steve
film.
Jobs?
Steve Jobs?
Not that. Oh, it's an interesting zone to be in, to change jobs.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
To leave something that you're familiar with, to go to something that hopefully, and I think in most people's situations when they're leaving one job to go to another, it's something that is either going to reward them more in, monetarily or just spiritually. In this case, I hope both. But there's a lot of anticipation too, right?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't been sleeping very well lately, because you're thinking about possibilities. That's what'll keep me up all fucking night.
Mm-hmm.
The unknown. You're kind of in that limbo of like, all right, I'm not going to go to this job every day, and I'm going to go to this place that's going to be unfamiliar, and I don't and there's a lot, actually, not to get into details, but it's specifically about this job. Kind of a more haziness than normal.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of like, we'll see how it works out, But I have enough faith in it that it seems like it's going to be the right move overall.
Oh, new jobs. I'm also getting a new job, and I know that it is a gamble. It's like, I mean, it could nourish you in every, body and soul, and it may just be, a giant explosion of disappointment and shame.
I like to think that every job that I go into, I go into with a positive attitude and think, well, this is a great place that I can use my skills. It can be rewarding in some way to me. A place where I'll fit in. The last two jobs that I've had haven't, and I'm pretty used to in my history, in my work history, of having extended runs with places. I work my way up as far as I can, or just find a better opportunity. But I'm not used to like jumping from job to job.
Right.
But I literally, this job that I'm leaving. When I went into it, I was like, this is great. This is a place that I can see myself growing with, that I can have a comfortable job for the rest of my working career if I really wanted to. But then, the honeymoon period's over and you start hearing more and more about what's really going on in the company. And you're just like realizing that this is a dead end. It's time to move on. Yeah. And the job before that, was one of the most financially rewarding jobs that I've had. Not the most, but one of the most.
Yeah.
But it was such a downer. It was just soul crushing. And it wasn't because the work was awesome and interesting. My boss was just, even when he was nice, he was being a racist.
Yeah.
It was just constant tension, just constant.
That could even if you're making good money, it can be hard on your everyday
Right.
Attitude and your health. Health real big with that if you're having a tense environment all the time.
Yeah, and I'm kind of to that point now with this current job. I was very lucky to find a new opportunity because I was at my wit's end with this place. Just mismanagement and no support from the people who hired you. It's just like, okay, here you go.
Yeah.
Here's a computer. Go sell something.
There you go.
Ooh.
That's right. Hey, I don't mind working hard. I don't mind a challenge either, But when your employer seems to be setting up roadblocks to your success, that's a different story.
Oh, I was there in at my last radio job. The last time I took a paycheck in radio for money, I worked for my short time in radio. I learned that you're fucked either way. It's one of life's lessons, because I worked for a big corporate cluster, and then I worked for an independent owner.
Mm-hmm. Well, even if you're like really successful in radio, there's still, there's no job security.
There's no job security at all. You could walk in. You could be just went through it here in Detroit a few months ago this year. You could be number one. Mm-hmm. And they could just be like, we're cutting jobs.
Yeah.
And it's just or you could come in and you just, we're switching formats. Everybody's fired.
Have
a good one.
Yeah. If you are one of the lucky few to actually make millions working in radio, just fucking save your money. Make as much as you can in the time period that you can.
Yeah.
And just fucking save it, because who knows what your next job is going to be.
But yeah, but what I was saying though with the obstacles though, having the independent, the person's just there to say no quicker and give you their stupid reasoning to your face, rather than in the corporate cluster, it's just a no and you don't get to hear their stupid, dumbass, horrible reasoning.
Right.
It's out of sight, out of mind, where you can hear it. It was just wanting to help people succeed. Like, listen, no, it's not how you do this. Like, I think that place existed solely on barters. Like, I don't know how that guy paid the electric bills, or
I don't know how my current work.
Maybe he owned the property or something. I don't know, but it was just at some point it was just I walked away. I was like, I'm good here, man. Like I was a music director. I was afternoon drive, and I was just like, yeah, I'm done working here.
It does amaze me when you work at a place that you don't know where the money's coming from. Like I like how you just said that. Like at your current, you're like, okay, so if they're not getting business, how are they paying me?
Well, it's too bad Rich isn't on here, because Rich recently, like within the last couple weeks, or at least maybe a couple pay cycles, went to go cash his paycheck, and just bounced. Like, there's nothing in here to cover this.
Yeah. Oh, I've had that happen.
I've never had that happen.
If you live in the Metro Detroit area though, and you work for a guy who doesn't seem to be making any money on the front end, he's probably selling weed on the back end. So that's probably how it's working for most of these guys.
Or some of them, like I've worked for small business owners who they, by kind of chance, by happenstance, they were really successful. But because it happened sort of by accident, they don't understand changing their business to fit with current markets, and so they just have they were wildly successful at one period, like a record store that I worked at. It was a perfect example. I mean, this guy was just making more money than he knew what to do with, so it went into his car and up his nose. But at the tail end of that, when a lot of that happened, when MP3s and downloading became popular and all the record stores dried up, but he was able to continue on for a long time, I'm imagining, just based off the fact that he had some savings for the business or something.
Yeah, that's they're just skating off of what they had made previously. That
right, and then they just gradually take in less and less money until it starts going negative, and they don't change, and that's where you've got to see those things and jump ship before it happens.
All right.
You know who else has a new job?
Who?
Jon Stewart.
Going
to. He just signed a contract. I think it was for 4-year production pact with HBO.
Oh. John Oliver got him a gig. It's like, hey man, I'm over here now.
John Oliver and Bill Maher and now Jon Stewart.
Oh, they're building a nice roster over there at HBO.
Building an army is what they're doing.
It says in an official statement, I'm so excited to be working with Richard Plepler, Michael, and the entire HBO family. Appearing on television 22 minutes a night clearly broke me. I'm pretty sure I can produce a few minutes of content every now and again. So it doesn't sound like he's going to be doing an actual show. According to release, Stewart's job will be to view current events through his unique prism, which likely means he'll be continuing his war and bullshit with a little help from HBO. Let's see, where did it say? It's not clear if it will be behind the desk again in some fashion. The content will most likely cater to his sensibilities. Where did it say? Somewhere in here it said that it's probably going to be like shorts and like stuff that pops up on their an HBO Now app, or HBO Go or whatever the fuck it is that they're doing.
And how much did he get to do this?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought you gave me a dollar amount.
No, 4 years.
That
was the only number I had on it. No word on how much HBO actually paid him, but come on.
For a few seconds of content every so often. Good for him.
The number is so large it wouldn't even register to our brains.
Hey, remember when he was the remote control guy? Good for him.
Remember when he wore the leather jacket and hosted a show on MTV?
Oh, when
he had his own talk show.
Yes, the Jon Stewart show.
The Jon Stewart show.
Remember he's in Big Daddy? That was like the pinnacle of his career?
No.
Being in an Adam Sandler movie?
No, his favorite movie that he's popped up in is Death to Smoochie.
Yeah.
He was awesome in that.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you guys remember Craig Kilborn?
Yes.
He's on Late Night.
Craigers.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's great.
You watch him?
Yeah. No, I don't watch him anymore, but I used to watch him.
He was the first Daily Show host.
He was the first Daily Show host.
Oh, that's why you bring up. Yeah, that's right.
And then he left to be in Late Night.
Uh-huh.
And that went over like a fart in church.
Yep.
Well, not to disparage Craig Kilborn.
Is he an asshole or something?
Because he seems like he does a fine job as a late night host. And he's not. It's not that he's not funny, but he wasn't. Jon Stewart took that show to a completely different level.
Oh,
Nobody
yeah,
can
I
argue
agree.
that.
Yeah, totally.
It was his personality. It was, well, like I said in here, it was Jon Stewart's personality and his skew on things. Right. That made the show. You felt much more that where Craig Kilborn was probably just writing whatever the writers came up with, that Jon Stewart was much more steering the ship. This is what I want to talk about. These are some of the points that I want to hit. Now punch up some funny jokes.
Right.
I also think that, Jon Stewart was much better at endearing himself to the audience and being funny on the fly, being able to improv.
He commanded the show. He did. Yeah, no, yeah. It was his show at that point.
And from everybody who's worked with him, just has apparently the most insane work ethic of anybody in Hollywood.
Right.
Just from what I keep hearing about why he left the Daily Show, I guess it was just wearing on him.
Well, yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah.
Doing 22 minutes of TV every day broke him.
Yeah, that's a tough job. Somebody's got to do it, right?
Well, when you're... Okay.
Well, it's like what hearing on a local level with Drew Lane, for Drew and Mike. When they got let go from mornings, he's made it clear that he is all done with mornings. He was the reason he had left the show for like what was it, a year and a half or 2 years near the end, because he was tired of the grind. He was tired of getting up at 4 a.m. every day. You do it for two decades.
Right, a lot of people just wear out on whatever it might be. But the difference here, not to constantly call Craig Kilborn out, but he probably went in there and, did his shtick and was out. Where it sounds like Jon Stewart, the reason it broke him is because there's like 10 hours of work that went in front of the 22 minutes of programming. And he was apparently, from everybody's were involved in all of it, and a role model at all times, an example for everybody else on staff. And he became and embodied that show.
Right.
So I can see where that legitimately would wear on him. Not just like, I'm sick of doing TV. Like, he worked himself to the bone in a way where I don't think everybody that hosts a half-hour daily show does.
I wonder what picture he has hanging up in his office to help him.
Slaves working in the field.
Yeah, that's
to remind him of what hard work is really like.
Yes,
probably something involving
That's
Jews.
Right. Oh God, I can't believe how many people I just offended by describing how hardworking Jon Stewart was. I'm so insensitive.
Thank you for listening, liking, and sharing Unregimented on Facebook and following Unregimented on Twitter at UnregimentedPod. If you like Unregimented, please tell a friend to visit ChristopherMedia.net. You can subscribe to Unregimented on iTunes for free just by clicking through the iTunes banner at ChristopherMedia.net. You can also show your support for Unregimented when you buy something on iTunes just by clicking through the iTunes banner at ChristopherMedia.net. It won't cost you anything extra, and it shows your support for Unregimented. While you're on iTunes, please remember to write a review and rate Unregimented 5 stars. Just click on the iTunes banner at ChristopherMedia.net. Android users can listen to Unregimented for free at ChristopherMedia.net by clicking on the Stitcher radio player on our homepage. You can also listen to Unregimented for free at TuneIn.com or by downloading their free TuneIn radio app. Don't forget, you can always listen to Unregimented for free across any platform just by going to ChristopherMedia.net. Make sure to check out all of the podcasts on ChristopherMedia.net. Mondays and Fridays, you have Unregimented. Reach us at UnregimentedPod on Twitter. Tuesdays and Fridays, you have the Weedsman Podcast. Find those guys at the Weedsman420 on Twitter. Wednesday, you have the Projection Booth, projection-booth.com, or at ProBoothCast on Twitter. You can also check out one of our new shows, well, new to us. It's the Ugly Club Podcast. It's another movie podcast, but these guys go with more of a theme each week rather than just one movie. You can check them out at Ugly Club Podcast on Twitter or uglyclubpodcast.com. If you like Unregimented and want to show your support for Unregimented, you can donate to Christopher Media by clicking through the PayPal button at ChristopherMedia.net. If you use Amazon.com, please click through the Amazon banner at ChristopherMedia.net and bookmark the link. It won't cost you anything extra, and when you buy something, you will show your support for Unregimented. If you're looking to launch your own website, please click through the HostGator banner at ChristopherMedia.net. That's who we use to host Unregimented. When you sign up for HostGator by clicking through the banner at ChristopherMedia.net, you are helping to support Unregimented.
Do you not like guns, Aaron?
I don't dislike them, but I have no affinity for them.
Okay.
I don't own one. I can't really see myself ever owning one, but who's to say? I can't see myself being in a situation where I feel like I would need one.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, obviously there's gun violence all over the nation.
Mm-hmm.
Stories about gun violence are nothing new, but there are some interesting ones that caught my attention this week. One of them about a man in Colorado who walked down the street with a rifle, shot and killed 3 people, some of which were begging for their lives, before he was eventually gunned down by police. The interesting part of this is that a neighbor saw him walking down the street with an AR-15, looking menacing, and called 911 and said, hey, there's this guy walking down the street with a rifle, and he looks mad. I think you guys should do something about it. And the dispatcher said, well, it's an open carry state, so nothing we can do.
Oh,
is he actively threatening anyone? Well, no, he's just looking. Okay, well, there you go. He's legally allowed to walk around with his gun, with what the caller said was a distraught look on his face, like he's had a rough couple of days or so.
What would it have cost to just go?
We'll send somebody out there to take a look at
Send a squad car. They will check that shit out.
I was probably mad they wouldn't sell his flag at Walmart.
Fuck what it costs.
Yeah.
Like, what's their job?
Yeah, I know, right? Was a new batch of Krispy Kremes?
But this
couldn't be pulled away. Had to get the fresh ones.
This is also a white guy walking around. Now, take a brother and put an AR-15 in his hand and send him down the
SWAT
street.
team on. There'd have been a knee in his back.
SWAT team. It wouldn't even got there. 2 cops would have showed up and each put a bullet in them.
I'm more afraid of a white guy with a gun than I am, Well, I'm afraid of both, but I mean, a white guy with an AR-15 walking on the street, that's terrifying to me. That's a big body count right there.
Okay, so I'll be racist. If I have the gun's being pointed at me, right? I think I would be more fearful of the black guy actually pulling the trigger. If it's just a guy walking down the street with a loaded weapon, I'm much more fearful of the white guy.
Right.
Because he's more likely to be insane and kill randomly.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, that scares me more.
Right.
And with white people dropping like flies these days, especially middle-aged white men, you can't be too careful.
Well, but that's the thing. The white men are killing themselves.
Right, yeah. Another strike for being afraid of white men right there.
Well, not if they're killing themselves.
Right, yeah. Unless
because they're more
unless you're themselves, and then you'll be afraid.
Right.
No,
you're right. Yeah, I'm a white middle-aged American male.
911, I just saw a white man carrying an AR-15 looking menacing walking down the street.
Where'd you see him?
It's me.
In the mirror. Movies have ruined me on certain scenes because every time I see somebody stare at their own reflection with something other than putting on makeup or smiling, if they look distraught and they stare in the mirror, I immediately think they're going to kill themselves.
Or somebody else.
Yeah.
The sad look in the mirror, like the Royal Tenenbaums. Mm-hmm. When Richie, the bomber, stares in the mirror.
Yeah.
Shaves his beard, cuts his
and goes to cut his wrists.
But no, it's happened. Gosh, I'm trying to think of some other examples. That's the only one I can think of.
Taxi Driver.
But yeah, I was watching The Leftovers, and there's a scene where one of the characters was extremely distraught, and she looks at her face breaking up in the mirror, and I was like, oh, fuck, is she going to kill herself?
That's how it happens.
Which, if you guys like crying, watch The Leftovers. It's the most fucked up show. It is brilliant. It is one of my favorite shows, and it fucking gets me every single time, especially this last episode.
I like crying.
Are you familiar with the show at all?
I've never seen it, no.
It's based off of, what is it, like 2% of the world's population disappears just into thin air.
It's called Leftovers?
The Leftovers.
Oh. That show's still on?
It just went into season 2.
Is it on Netflix?
No, it's HBO.
Okay.
I think it's HBO or Showtime. No, it's HBO. It's HBO.
Cool. Well, I'll have to check it out. I like crying, and I like stuff like that. Fantasy, I guess, would be maybe.
It's not like
is it biblical? Are they
no or not what I've seen?
No, it's
not the rapture.
You keep thinking, well, of course, like the rapture is where a lot of people immediately go, and that's a lot of the people who are left over believe that, these people are called back to heaven or whatever it may be. And there's a lot of unexplained shit going on. But it's never, they don't imply one way or the other. Like, hey, this happened. It could have just been random chance that these two things happened at the same time. It could have been a sign of a creator. You know? All depends on what your beliefs are and how all the characters react differently to these events. There's certainly a lot of religious overtones in it, but it's rarely
tell
presented
you either way, which is good.
Right. It kind of rides right down the middle in just mystery. Hey, it could be God, could be science, could be just random chaos that happens to line up in favor of certain beliefs.
Could be in the mind of an autistic child, Snow Globe. The end of St. Elsewhere.
Yeah, one of the absolute best.
Could be Bob Newhart's dream.
Oh, it could be. I think that's where I am right now. Did you guys see Ash vs. the Evil Dead yet?
I have not yet.
I saw it the other day. It was absolutely incredible. And I'll tell you why. And I'm not going to tell you what happens, but I will say the CG is non-existent.
Excellent. Because
Yeah, so he went grassroots with this thing, and they made puppets. They did all the old school
makeup. And
they went back to, Ash being the asshole hero, making the really crappy jokes and saying things like groovy and molesting women, and it was beautiful. It was. I mean, if you've never seen the original ones, like if you've never seen Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness, this may not be funny to you because you may not
if
understand.
you didn't get those, you're probably not going to get those.
You won't get this, but I'm going to say every fan that enjoyed the original films will really
just
enjoy
classics.
This. Oh yeah, totally. It made me want to, saw off my own hand and replace it with a chainsaw.
Well, I still enjoy watching The Walking Dead very much so, and more so for the character writing than anything else. The effects are getting a little bit out of hand with the zombies.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watch it at all, but lately they started doing the blood splatter on the camera lens.
Yeah.
Which is like just fucking retarded. What? Don't.
Well, is it shot like The Office now?
Right, yeah.
They're interviewing zombies.
Yeah.
One-on-one.
They've done it a couple times this season where all these zombies are getting hacked up or chopped up, and at one point this fake blood splatter. And I feel like I'm playing a video game and I just got shot. That's what it fucking looks like. It doesn't look real at all. Because they're doing it all digital. That's great. You are able to make very convincing blood splatter digitally, but don't just throw it on the screen right there.
And the other thing with that show, I mean, I love it. I watched the new series too, and I like that. But one thing that I don't like about it is the way that they break down a story to where we're going to get one day situation now, and it's going to be from 5 different angles, and that's going to be 5 episodes. It's so grueling. Just show me that day in one episode and then move on to something else. It's just making everything crawl. Then so I see one of the characters I like at the first episode of the season trying to do something. In the next episode, it's another guy. In the next episode, another guy. You don't see what happens with the progression of the first guy until the last episode of that season.
Right.
It's too much. Too much.
It is a little bit of trickery, but it does allow them to do things like the last episode, an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
Two-man play between Morgan and the guy who trained him in with his Donatello bow staff, which I thought was a great episode.
No, I enjoyed that too.
I thought it was absolutely fantastic, whereas most shows, they would have explained that. They would have shown you stuff, but it would have been like flashbacks.
It would have been a
like
montage
and
with some music.
Right, and it would have been interspliced with like what they do on Arrow, where they always have these flashbacks to 5 years previous to what he went through, and they give you these little bits and pieces, which that just drives me nuts. Like, just tell the whole story or don't. Another one, which I don't think the writing is nearly as good as in Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as it is in Walking Dead, but they do have kind of similar layout where they're constantly hiding the big story from you.
Yeah.
But they were able to there was one of the best episodes this season was just explaining what happened to one character when they went through a portal. Like last season, they went through a portal, didn't come back till this season, and nobody really knew what happened, and she didn't want to talk about it. And then it all came out in one episode that was just devoted to this. It was very similar to the Walking Dead episode. It was two people.
Yeah.
It was her and the guy that was abandoned years earlier in the same place, finding each other and just trying to survive in this weird wasteland planet. This is kind of, we're talking about AMC and ABC, right? These aren't like weird sci-fi pay cable stations that are free to experiment. These are major television shows that millions of people are watching that are breaking this normal form of everything's kind of chopped up and fed to you in order.
I think that the reason for this now is because of like Netflix, for instance. Like when you binge watch these shows, and for on demand as well, like it actually makes me want to, and I think these shows are meant to enjoy it in this way. Like if you ever watched Sons of Anarchy at all, in the way that you sit down and lose fucking 4 days of your life because you just watch one after another, and I think that's the way they're marketing these things now.
Right. I think, too, a lot of this is, when we talk about shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Walking Dead, the comic book influence is obvious. The characters are pulled right from those books. But on a greater scale, outside of actual comic book properties that are being portrayed on the screen, the format of the comic book is kind of bleeding over into television.
Oh, very much so.
Right?
Yeah, you've grabbed the format.
It wouldn't be like that's how you would do that story in a comic book for decades now. If you want to tell this long form 12-issue epic, you could have that one issue that's just going to explain somebody's backstory or fill in this major mystery, and they devote that whole issue to it, and they'll have maybe even a guest artist that'll come in to give it a different feel and everything.
And you won't get any resolve until later on in the series.
Right. Yeah. And that's, obviously there's influence back and forth. There's certainly people who write for both, who write comic books and write for television or write screenplays or whatnot. So there's obvious overlap in there. But there's a lot of ways where comic books are influencing the television that we watch outside of the superheroes and the actual properties themselves.
There's been such a resurgence in superhero television now. We have you guys seen The Flash yet?
Big Flash fan.
I love the Flash show is great. I love it, and I like the way it went. How they changed it enough from the comic book, so I can't really predict exactly what's going to happen and how it happened.
Right.
So I'm not stuck like going, oh, I fucking know what's going to happen next. And
exactly.
So that really brought it back to life.
Watchmen.
Yeah.
We already know the story.
It brought it back to life for me. Now it's going to take its own life. It's taking its own way, but it's doing it tastefully. Now, have you guys seen any of the two new Supergirl? Oh, go ahead. Go on.
I was just going to say, The Flash, I love that show. That is the TV equivalent to me of Spider-Man 2. Which is one of my favorite comic book adaptations in film because it manages to capture that vibe of the comic book without bringing along the things that would weigh it down in a feature film.
Right.
To take that story and presented in a visual way that you can relate to that experience of reading the original book, but you get something completely new, and it's adapted properly for its format.
Right.
That's what it's the perfect comic book TV show, The Flash is. Just like Spider-Man 2 is, I still think, not my favorite movie based off of a comic book property.
Yeah.
But my favorite adaptation of any comic book character into a movie that makes you feel like you're watching a motion comic,
Right. No, it's beautiful, and if you guys ever watched the original Flash series from the 90s, the father that plays Barry Allen in that one, actually the father in the current show actually plays Barry in the original show, which is really cool. Which
can make it a little confusing. Yeah, but yes,
it's not the same universe, but it's the same actor.
It's just kind of a nod or an Easter egg, as they would say in the nerd lingo. Not only that, the Trickster shows up, played by Mark Hamill. Yeah. He plays a very Jokerish Riddler-type character called the Trickster. Uh-huh. And he's in the original 90s Flash series and in the current one.
That's beautiful. That's like music right there. I really, really enjoy that show.
Luke Skywalker is... Mark Hamill is Luke Skywalker. You just can't see anything different, right?
Right.
But that doesn't mean that he's necessarily a great actor. But the Trickster is great, and his voice as the Joker for the animated series...
Oh, that's the Joker. That's the iconic Joker
He does that so well.
Yeah.
He is so good at playing the bad guy. I wish we could see... I think it's almost like... I'm sure the... being that iconic figure of Luke Skywalker has actually hindered his career in more ways than it's helped.
Yeah, that's gotta really piss him off. That's all. Talk about the ultimate typecast.
But I don't want to see. I don't think he's necessarily a good actor in that.
Like Carrie Fisher went on to do other things. Harrison Ford obviously didn't.
Oh yeah,
you don't see him as. It's one of the people you see, but. I see Indy every time I see Harrison Ford. That's just me. But that's gotta be like blessing and a curse for Mark Hamill.
Mm-hmm. Right. I don't know if you guys saw it. There was last year paparazzi took some pictures, some embarrassing photos of Mark Hamill, and he was at a voiceover studio outside in California, stealing and re-smoking old cigarette butts out of the ashtray.
Hey, I'd do that.
The dude was in Star Wars, though, and he can't afford a pack of smokes. There's something wrong with that.
Yeah.
Come on, Lucas. Let's get Hamill a check. Let's get him a full pack of smokes.
Hey, he's got the... Oh, come on. He's going to be doing all right.
Well, he's in the new movie, right?
Yeah, dude. He just got a second wind.
He's got himself a year 2000 movie deal. He'll make a shitload of money.
He's not in the official movie posters. What is up with that? Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
He's not on the group one, and he's not in the single ones. They have all the heroes but him.
Because they either want to tease as a fake out that he is going to have turned to the dark side, or he actually has turned to the dark side, right?
So
there's something about his appearance that is going to denote something. That's like he's got he's going to look evil. He's got like some scar on his face or some fucked up shit.
Well, we saw him in the trailer where his hand was all robotic, and he's like,
his hand was cut off and
but you'd think that he would have a better hand by now. It's the future, right? You would notice that shit.
He's stuck in his ways.
All right, that's fine.
I like my old hand.
Ah, my gosh. A nice comic book rant there. I needed that today.
I bet you could find this real quick. You'd enjoy this. Do a quick search for Fox News Star Wars.
What is it?
Fox News had a story about the current Star Wars fever that is spreading across the nation.
Chlamydia? Is this one right here? Not surprisingly, Fox News hates Star Wars.
Yeah. In true Fox fashion, they of course have to be fair and balanced, right? So they can't just report on the phenomenon. They have to bring in two people to debate whether we should all be excited about Star Wars or not. which is a ridiculous thing to debate.
Oh, I'm so annoyed with everybody on the internet about the women and
there it is. All right.
They're acting
having too many women in Star Wars. There's women in the first Star Wars.
First of all,
that's just fucking stupid. We went over that territory.
All right, first of all, I see a woman, so this debate is already invalid.
Whoa, hey.
We were just saying that we're sick of assholes like you, Chris, and then you go and be an asshole like that.
I'm just saying. I'm going from experience, okay, before I start this video.
I know women, and I know that.
How many people have you met? Anyone that you know that can spit out Star Wars trivia like that has a penis.
No.
Not everyone.
No. I know plenty of female fans that are just as rabid as the male ones.
Really?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Your ex liked Star Wars, didn't she?
So she dressed as Chewbacca for Halloween this year.
Yeah, dude, totally. Yeah, you can't.
I cannot agree with you on that. I think your nerd experience is just too limited in general.
Maybe you just
expose
didn't
myself to more nerds.
You didn't notice the females that were involved.
Get the trench cut out. Expose yourself to nerds.
I know, right?
Well, let's watch a little bit of this Fox News footage and see what.
But again, I'm not really into this whole thing, especially when I found out that Fox has nothing to do with it. My Gunzelman, he loves the Star Wars films. Carla Shimkus.
Oh, she rolled her eyes.
Big fan with it.
Well, not only is it overrated, in my opinion, it's also oversaturated. From Halloween costumes to it being on Monday Night Football. Everywhere you turn, it's all Star Wars.
They're overdoing it. You're
freaks like Guns who will go on to Fandango and buy it 2 months in advance, and then it will ruin everybody else, the experience for.
I gotta find better audio. I can't believe they would post it with audio.
I don't know where's that from.
I was mad at first because she looks so stupid.
That sounds just.
I'm almost on your boat now, buddy.
I don't know why it sounds so shitty.
She's got a. I want everybody to go and watch.
The point is, though, like nobody's forcing you to go watch it, right? Nobody's trying to force you to be into Star Wars. Why does it fucking matter if it's everywhere? So you're in the minority when it comes to the percentage of the nation that are Star Wars fans, apparently. It's also, we're not clearing out all the theaters of all the other movies and saying we're only showing Star Wars for a month.
You know,
I know, right?
It really made me mad. One comment that she made right off the bat, she goes, and we're singing everywhere. It's even invaded our halftime and, Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Well, everybody keeps shoving Super Bowl down my throat. You could take some of my fucking nerd shit. It's like that offends you. Well, no, I get the sports shoved down my throat all the time. Seriously, you can take my Star Wars. Oh my gosh!
But just to stage this as this opinion debate, like it's not a fucking debate.
No, it's not.
If you're not into Star Wars, nobody wants to hear what you have to say.
There's too much chocolate ice cream out there.
You don't have to go and see it. Yeah, it's a choice.
This isn't like, I think this law is unfair and I'm going to speak out about it. No. And you should be listening to me whether you agree with me or not. Maybe I can change your mind. You're not changing anyone's mind. You're not making somebody go, oh my God, I've wasted my life. The hot blonde is right.
Yeah.
What am I doing? I'm 40 years old and I want to go see a movie about fucking ain't right. I want to go see a movie about spaceships and aliens.
Excuse me, miss, but bleach blonde hair and fake tits are overrated.
We won't. I watched it earlier. I don't think we're going to find any better audio of it, but the gentleman, the nerd expert that was brought in to defend Star Wars said, well, this connects with a lot of people because it's this classic story of good versus evil. And the blonde... And the blonde says, oh, that's original. Oh, okay. Originality, that's what you're shooting for then. That's why you're so anti-Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
You want to go see a romantic comedy where maybe they don't end up together? No, that would fucking piss you off. You don't want to see originality.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's a coming-of-age story. It's classic. I mean, they've been doing this since the beginning of written words. So we have...
right.
Yeah. It's Gilgamesh.
The point that he was making is that story of good and evil is derived from, since the beginning of storytelling.
Right. And that's overrated?
Right.
I mean, that's great right there. That's Rich.
No, that's not Rich. Rich is on the last song. Thank you, Jim.
It's funny when people debate things for the sheer sake of debating them.
Well, this is like Fox is like, everybody's talking about Star Wars. We got to get something out about Star Wars. What? We're a news organization. Well, debate whether it's worth talking about or not. Well, I guess it is worth talking about because Fox devoted 5 minutes to it.
Yeah, thanks, Fox.
Thanks a lot, Obama.
Yeah.
That was the story that followed that.
Oversaturated, and you're adding to the oversaturation.
Yeah, you're participating
Right now.
in it, you dumb cunt.
You are currently adding to the big piss pool of over coverage of something that you think is ridiculous.
2 times?
You're all a bunch of fucking idiots!
Okay, this should cheer you up, though. I had to share this story with you guys. I didn't see this website until recently. It's thehardtimes.net. Are you familiar with this?
I think I'm more interested in the hardtimes.com, which is a little bit different content.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just saying this.
Well,
you want me to type that in Google?
it
I don't
seems
have
to
safe
be.
search on.
It seems to be a kind of punk rock version of The Onion,
Oh, okay, cool.
right? So fake news stories. I love this one though, because they had a story in there on hardtimes.net. Henry Rollins' driving app tells you how hard it would have been to get there in the 80s. New driving app voiced by Henry Rollins is quickly becoming the go-to navigation choice for punk and hardcore kids on the go.
Wow.
The new app, Rat Size, gives driving directions to your destination while also shouting knowledge gained from the relentless work ethics of Rollins' legendary hardcore group Black Flag. The band's groundbreaking and hard touring schedule often took them on very non-traditional routes across the country, as the app will frequently remind you. But he's not going to lie. Hopefully he'll pick up. Let's see. While trying to drive from Los Angeles to Tucson, one user was directed to drive 5 miles to 7-Eleven, locate the nearest payphone, and call Steve. Hopefully he'll pick up and let you know where you need to be. Otherwise, it's just another overnight with Watt or arguing about whatever bullshit he's got up his ass this time. Noticeably absent from the app is the mute feature. Any attempt to silence the app only makes the Rollins narration more irritated. Rat Size features long-winded talks from the former Black Flag frontman that can extend up to 20 minutes after you arrive at your destination. With some users with Wi-Fi enabled cars have reported a glitch where the car locks until the stories are over.
He's becoming like the old man now. It's really quite frightening.
Grandfather punk.
Yeah. Stay off my lawn, punk rock guy.
Mm-hmm.
Broke my hip. His body's getting kind of baggy these days, too. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
Well, if you don't keep that up, it turns to fat.
It's really...
Right.
And by keep that up, I'm talking about his body of 20 years ago that we were looking at.
Oh, how old is he now?
Oh,
Like, he's got to be approaching 60.
Yeah,
he's got to be. He's north of 50.
Yeah.
Totally.
He might. I don't know.
All right, Google.
What have you been listening to lately, Eric?
He's 54 years old.
Well,
54,
I
yeah,
have
younger
been
than I
listening to Beach Boys again. I've been revisiting Pet Sounds.
Yeah.
I have it on vinyl. I've had it for years.
Mm-hmm.
I currently, what was it? I saw Love and Mercy recently. And
Was that the biopic?
That's the biopic.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's absolutely phenomenal. And
Yeah.
that was always one of my favorite albums of all
John
time.
Cusack?
John Cusack.
Yeah.
And they did a brilliant job with it, and it was really cool to see them. And a lot of it took place in the studio.
Right, because what I understand, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
but
keep
just-
going, that's
but
fine.
real quick, like a lot of biopics, it's like the Ray Charles. Ray was a great movie, but
Right.
it was like birth to death. And you're just like,
Yeah, I
whoa,
know.
like maybe you're overdoing it a little bit. From what I understand about the Brian Wilson
Right.
movie, essentially is what it was about. It wasn't necessarily about the Beach Boys. It was more focused on Brian Wilson himself.
Right, yeah.
And it was over a finite period of his career.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, 2 points in his career.
Oh, right, okay.
So because there's
Yeah.
actually 2 actors playing him, which actually they look nothing alike, but they both do the job brilliantly. And I like that they actually chose that.
Yeah.
Because most directors wouldn't do that. They'd want
Oh.
to get 2 people that look similar.
Right.
No, they pick 2 people that
I'm gonna
best
say,
represented
hey,
him
Cusack,
at the
we got to
time.
get to you into makeup. We're going to do all the future shots today.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they would have done. But
Yeah.
no, they did a brilliant job. And what I enjoyed the most is they recreated the studio and they recreated the experience and a lot of the stories that they had done, and a lot of it breaks down in the studio. And they showed the Wrecking Crew, which I was really excited to see. You know who they are?
Oh, yeah.
They're the
Most
studio
famous-
musicians
yeah.
Yes.
of the time that were on everything everything you've ever listened to of that era. These guys were the actual band playing it. I mean, they did Sinatra. They did you could just go on forever. Carole King. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
They're on everything. Most of everything you heard
the 60s and 70s, they were just all over that shit.
None of the bands you listened to were actually the bands you listened to. It was the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
So it's pretty incredible.
Well, that was the thing. You get somebody like a really good songwriter, like Carole King, for example, and then you get the song down, and then you go with the really great musicians to play it.
Right.
And it was just a fucking job.
It
wasn't that nobody sat around going, "What should we do for a bridge?" Like, they were just like, "Here it is. Fucking play it."
Yeah.
You'll get a cigarette break when you're done. And
I would have loved to have
you
done
get an
that.
hourly rate. I know. Wouldn't it be great?
All pen and all notation.
That's the bummer part of the Pro Tools is it killed the session musician.
Well, yeah. That and kind of, well, you know what really did is the Beatles killed the session musician.
Right.
It was happening through the rise of rock and roll where, oh, no, these are easy songs to play. I'll just get my buddy, teach him, a couple, scales on the bass real quick, and he can join the band. Can you keep a beat? You're my drummer. And the Beatles showing you that, like, hey, we're going to do all this shit ourselves and experiment more in the studio and all that shit. And that got to be what people thought of as, that's a band. Hey, you got a bunch of guys and they all get together and they jam it out and they write the song. And it's no longer the system of like, the Tin Pan Alley musicians, the Brill Building where you just have like guy in the office writes songs. He has a piano in there, right? You might have a lyricist that comes in and works with him, and they go to fucking work. They put on a tie, they go get their coffee, and they go sit down, and they go, okay, we got to write a song. We got to write,
Give me a C, a bouncy C.
You guys know about the fifth Beatle, right?
Pete Best?
No, well, that one too. Bernard Purdy.
I was to say George Martin.
He's the black drummer that they had to do all the groovy drum parts. He did the Purdy Shuffle. Guy was amazing.
Oh no, I was familiar with Pete Best, the guy who played
Billy Preston.
Thank you.
George Martin. Come on, George Martin's really the fifth Beatle. Come on.
Yeah, but Bernard did a lot of their drums. He did most of them actually. Anything that's not like in the pocket, Bernard Purdy was doing. Yeah.
All right, Ringo, your limey showing. We can get a brother in here.
Need some groove there.
Yeah.
And looping it back around to Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
That's what kind of drove Brian Wilson to experiment more with the studio. He was hearing what the Beatles were doing and going, like, everybody was like, oh, it's Beatles versus Stones. And I'm like, no. Beatles are doing their thing. They're, experimental.
Right.
They're pushing the envelope constantly. They're figuring out, are there any limitations to what we can do? Mm-hmm. And the Stones were reappropriating black music and taking it on tour endlessly.
Right.
And that's their thing.
Uh-huh.
And they tried. We saw the results of what happened when they actually tried to go up against the Beatles. It was Her Satanic Majesty's Request. While you do have 2,000-Year-Old Man or whatever the fuck, 2,000, whatever was the song called, you do have some little gems in there, and it is an interesting album. It is nothing compared to what the Beatles were doing and what they were trying to go up against, like Sgt. Pepper's. They heard Sgt. Pepper's and were like, oh, we got to do something like this.
Uh-huh.
Whereas really,
which version of the Beach Boys is this?
Fuck off.
That's not the Beach Boys.
Fuck off with this song. No, well, let me get back.
So awful.
Let me make my point though, because and then we'll get back to this version. Because Brian Wilson heard what the Beatles were doing, and it was like, oh, this is it. I can use the studio as a tool, and it's like another instrument.
Right. Exactly.
Right? And so that's when you got into the making of Pet Sounds. And then later, what was called Smile, the album that was never released until recently.
Smile, I get that. It's insane.
It was, Pet Sounds, while it had good vibrations, it was not catching on like all their surf music was.
Oh no, it's amazing.
The rest of the band and the label kind of gave Brian Wilson some leeway, like, well, this is how the creative genius works. And then
there's no Brian Wilson on this song.
Yeah, that's Mike Love. And
it's the Mike Love band?
Yeah. Right, so they gave him a chance. Okay, well, we'll see where you're going with this. And when Pet Sounds didn't sell like Sgt. Pepper's did, They were like, no, that's it. No, we just want harmonies. We just want pop music.
Right.
Keep it simple. Why are you going to multiple studios and doing all these different takes? And, he was getting fucking, what's his name? The crazy producer that shoots people with the
Suge
hair.
Knight?
No. Come on, dude.
Oh, Phil Spector.
He was getting
Spector,
Phil Spector in there with like 40 musicians. Anybody who could hold a tambourine was getting in the fucking room doing these like crazy productions. And then like you hear something like Good Vibrations, you can hear where the separations are, even though everything's blended together in this perfect song.
Right.
Those were all these different versions.
The song?
It was things like what Miles Davis was doing during the Bitches Brew sessions. If you listen to the original sessions, there's all these different takes that you can get of each of each one of the songs. But the final product, the original Bitches Brew album, one song was made up of 3 or 4 different takes that they would just kind of fade and splice together and everything.
Oh yeah, Razor Blade.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's before Pro Tools. He had to get the Razor Blade out.
Scrubbing and cutting.
I know how to do that.
Cutting.
Oh my
me
God.
and Rich were probably one of the last classes at Specs Howard that were taught how to do that.
And I know how to hand start a prop plane.
I know, right?
Like, good does it do me?
I know, right?
You were talking about the Smile album. I'm just going to real quick say that. I actually, I was reading about that album being made. It was made in Brian Wilson's house. And
you're talking about the eventual, what it came out in like 2000 or somewhere around there?
Yeah, that was all done in his house.
Yeah.
And the cool part about it was he was like, well, if you listen to it, there's hardly any reverb on the album. And they asked him why, and he goes, well, is it a choice you guys made? He didn't want reverb on it for. He's like, no, reverb tank is too big to put in a house. And now we have a plug-in for that. But it was just amazing that was his response. They didn't, it was out of necessity. They didn't have a reverb.
This is supposedly the version from Smile.
Yeah, there's a lot of tracks on it.
Oh, this is the Smile Sessions.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, anyone who was really a fan of Brian Wilson had heard all those songs on Smile. They were just in demo form.
Right.
The album was pretty much complete. And the label was like, you're not fooling us again. No, they fucking tanked that shit. Said, if you're not going to do surf music or pop music, we are not interested in you.
Right.
But,
oh my gosh!
Not to say that, I mean, Brian Wilson didn't do himself any favors either. He was a complete introvert. He experimented with drugs that, maybe over-experimented with drugs somewhat,
and maybe somewhat.
But he was this vulnerable artist who I can sympathize with him so much in this way. They're like,
he's a giant open wound.
Right. I mean, from his teens, he was like in this successful pop group, and he was like, oh, I can do all this, right? And when he wanted to grow, everybody who in the past was telling him, yes, you're great, you're awesome, you sound awesome, you're going to take over the world, was now like, what are you doing? We're not with you on this, and we're not going to support you. That drove him to become more introverted and kind of push everybody else away and just want to, just nobody understands me type of thing. Yeah, go ahead and plug that in.
You don't have this, do you?
You don't have a...
What is that?
Oh, cool. Thanks. What was the guy that he worked with to complete Smile? There's this guy from an indie band. I'm trying to remember. Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
I had a friend that I met in my 20s who was the only person I had met up until that point that was a bigger music snob than I was. And I was over his place one day going through his record collection, and I started giving him shit for having Brian Wilson albums. And he listened to Brian Wilson, the Beach Boys, and this shit. This is bullshit. He's like, you have no idea. Like,
oh, yeah.
So what you've heard, you've heard the surf rock stuff, and you've heard Good Vibrations. Like you don't even know what you're talking about. You've heard one, section of Brian Wilson's career. He was a huge fan, though. I'm a much bigger fan than I. Let's face it, as brilliant as he is at writing music, there was a lot of just bullshit that came out in the 80s too.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I mean, everybody went through that. It's amazing because...
but speaking of that,
yeah,
that their version of California Dreaming, which is just a big why. why the fuck would you record that song?
We're gonna do that again.
Why would you? Like, oh my god, it's one of the worst covers I've ever heard of anybody else.
Because aren't they supposed to be like where the Beach Boys were synonymous with California and the beach?
Well, you know.
Oh, well, that's actually a good version.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
This came up recently because I was listening to Punk Rock Girl by the Dead Milkmen.
California Dreamin'.
And so I started screaming.
That's such a win. Yeah.
Because somebody plays a Beach Boys song on the jukebox, and it was California Dreamin', right? That's the lyric. And I always thought, well, I thought that he was getting it wrong on purpose, kind of like when your grandpa fucks up the name of your favorite superhero on purpose just to fuck with you.
That's what I thought too, and I didn't know they covered it.
Right, and he's right.
Yeah,
I thought he was just mistaken. Like, that's a Mamas and Papas song.
I think he was being a dick.
Right, he's just like, so to actually find out, like recently, I don't ever remember this being on, but I imagine it got some play. But recently, I stumbled across this, and I was like, oh, there is a Beach Boys version.
And what's disappointing is they have such the vocal range and chops to pull it off, like in a decent version.
Sure.
But it's got the stupid big drum 80s version.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do not like the Beach Boys of this era. It's like, and there's like no mids on any of their stuff in this era either. It's this weird, like, I don't know, what's it, noise reduction version of...
Right, and keeping all the instruments are in back and all the harmonies are way up front.
Right.
And that, because that's what, hey...
This is when John Stamos played drums for them, too. So we had Jesse and the Rippers and the Beach Boys.
Well, not only is this a horrible version, but the video is just depressing. It's all in black and white. They're just standing there. It's a lot of shots of them just staring blankly into the camera.
And now a saxophone solo that's being ripped in a church. Yeah, no,
is that Richard Lewis playing the saxophone?
I know. I have to write this ship, though. My brain.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, dude. You hear those?
I love this song.
I do
the original. This is so great.
Listen how much better the recording is on this one. It's this gorgeous. You can hear the room. There's mid-range. There's
it's four voices.
Yeah, it's panning. They use panning in this beautifully at the time. This is a great stereo image for that for the time.
Right, I love this. If you're listening with headphones, I think I have mine flipped, but the lead should be in your left and the harmonies on the right.
Right, yeah.
I always mirror mine flipped. Yeah. I don't know, because they do all the cables on the right side for headphones, usually, and I always put mine on the left.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I thought that was just me. Obviously, the majority of people prefer the right, but I don't know why. So out of the way. You're using your right hand more. It's like not...
Like, why does it seem... I'm sure you guys can answer this question.
The preacher likes it cold.
It's probably... I think you just answered my question. Just how come, like, when the technology was worse, the recordings had sounded so much fuller?
Well, because they
when you couldn't isolate every track, it sounded better.
In the 80s, they were going through a period of time where they're like, we got to get rid of all noise. We have to make this as sterile as possible. So the big thing that they did was they had something called noise reduction. DBX came out with at the time, and what it did was it filtered out the high end where the hiss is.
Right.
But when you get rid of the hiss, you get rid of all the life.
You do have to back up a little bit though, because there was a push in technology that caused this problem.
Right.
It was the idea that when the Beatles started taking a couple 4-track recorders and bouncing shit back and forth to get these 16-track recordings, and then the demand came, let's just make a 16-track, let's make a 24, let's take two 24-track recorders and chain them together, and we'll have 48 tracks to work with, right?
Yeah.
What's constant on every single one of those tracks? The little bit of tape hiss.
Right, yeah.
Right? So when you do 24 or 48 tracks, well, yeah, the hiss is going to take over. So
you're increasing noise floor.
So then you have to start filtering all that out. Whereas you're working with, in this recording, a handful of mics all, put in the right place in the room, and you certainly have a little bit of noise, but it's no more than you would on any other recording. You're not constantly layering that and that noise building up in it.
I don't know, to me, like the sound they got out of bass guitars in like the 60s, they've never gotten out of them ever again.
Because they had to push the attack of it.
Yeah.
Whereas now we have a fuller range in most systems, and most recordings that we hear outside of those from the 80s have a fuller range to them. Mm-hmm. We go, hey, that bass should be like rumble in your seat. Well, no, the bass should really kind of be punching you in the chest.
Yeah.
That's the frequency where you really feel it. At low-end bass, that shit that's happening below 60 hertz is just mud.
Yeah.
There's nothing usable in a recording or a live sound in there.
It's just going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like bass guitar should be more in the low mid ranges, and even some high mid ranges. We want to get that cool woofy boxy sound that I love. What do you got there?
Classic.
Yeah.
Main screen turn on.
It's you.
How are you, gentlemen? All your bays are belong to us. You are on the way to destruction.
What you say?
You have no chance to survive. Make your time. Ha ha ha.
I mean, you gotta let the breakdown come in.
Oh, this is the remix?
You can't cut it off.
All your bays are belong to us. All your bays are bass.
Ha.
Well, anyway, great talk about music.
Yeah, it was refreshing.
Oh, here's something for you. You know what I've been listening to over and over and over again? The only CD that I'll play in my car for like the last 3 weeks. I think it was from 1990.
Ooh.
The Sundays' first album, Reading, Writing, and Arithmetic.
Ah.
I have just been obsessed with that. I don't know. Are you familiar with the Sundays at all?
No.
You had to have at least heard Summertime. That was the biggest hit that they ever had. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I do.
You know the Sundays.
Yeah.
They did 3 albums. The last one had their...
Eric, you've heard this song.
Their hit Summertime. It's a great pop song. But overall, this album kind of falls flat, especially when there's something about... The first album was very much like a kind of female-fronted Smiths kind of thing that had this passion and urgency and this sound to it that they were never really fully able to produce on future recordings. But I
like it already.
I like this song. There's a lot of songs I skip over on this album. I forgot how damn cute she was too. With her big mall bangs.
Yeah, but this is from 97,
oh, yeah,
so they were
totally.
trying to get them in that whole chick rock wave.
Yeah, totally.
With the Meredith Brooks and the Alanis Morissette.
And there were... yeah, but there were too many of the breathy female singers.
Yeah.
In the early 90s.
I may have heard this in my life because I was around during that period.
You've been to a mall since 1997.
I don't remember this song at all.
If you ever bought khakis, somewhere that would sell you khakis would more than likely be playing this song.
Well, I actually want to buy some khakis. Yeah,
whether
like
it's
at a Gap?
Target,
maybe
the Gap.
I like this.
Sorry.
2, 3, 4.
Kind of reminds me of this reminds me of what's it? Rilo Kiley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like them a lot.
Not is it? It's the band Jenny Lewis.
Yeah, she's the bomb, dude.
Yeah. Who the fuck is Jenny Lewis married to? That I found out. She's married to somebody, and I was like, what? All right. So for a little comparison, honestly, not the best song, not my favorite at least on the first album, but this was the single from. You guys know this song?
I don't know. Yeah. I know this song.
Yeah.
Cool.
Also makes me want to purchase some khakis.
Do you hear how much better the recording got in the 90s than it was in the 80s right there?
Yes.
Yeah, right there. Huge difference. Not as dark
but
sounding.
Still, you're not getting that. Like you could just. Maybe too, because maybe in older recordings it was the whole band playing live together. Whereas here, not so much.
Well, you're not getting the distortion. You missed that distortion that you were getting.
The lo-fi?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm really sensitive to these. I remember I worked with, at my parents' frame store, the manager that worked there for a while. I worked with him, and we had this argument because he was like going on this rant about how drum machines and synthesizers are killing music, and that there's no value to programming an instrument. It had to be played in real time and all together to be real, quote-unquote, music. And that's just not the case. I mean, if I'm listening to a rock band, yeah, they usually do sound better when they all record together and they're all in the same room and you get that feel.
Right.
Because they're not, even though you have a kind of, you have a tempo to the song, there's fluctuation in it, it's natural. But, you know, I like a lot of different forms of music, so it all depends on what I'm listening to.
Right.
I mean, obviously, being a fan of techno music, I can't hate drum machines and synthesizers. But I also don't think that there's no place for a drum machine or a synthesizer in a rock song. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of you know, good rockin' songs that are all programmed into a drum machine. I don't know. It's not good or bad.
Right.
Certainly, I can't argue with anybody's preference. And if what your preference is to hear that type of music, and maybe you predominantly like older music where it had to have been recorded in that fashion.
Well, let's look at Nine Inch Nails.
But stop trying to tell other people what real music is and how it should be played and listened to and enjoyed. And just like stop trying to tell people like, my kid could do that art. Abstract, it's just a big square and a circle. My kid could have done that. Well, your kid didn't. That's why your kid's not famous. Shut the fuck up. And it doesn't matter what your opinion is because it's just your opinion. You're not the, you know, the gatekeeper of what constitutes art. And it has to do with how it's made. How did you make the art? I'll determine how if it's art or not. How hard did you work on it? How many hours did you put into it?
Kanye West is the voice of our generation.
There's no relation. You could spend years working on something that is a pile of shit, right?
Right.
And you could literally shit out something that is a work of art. Doesn't matter. It's not. Does it connect with somebody else, or does, you know, does it emotionally connect or convey some idea or some feeling or something? That's what makes it art.
Some may call this art.
Some may. This is real music because it's guitars.
I'm talking about this show.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I ranted over the whole song.
It's like the most anti-rant music.
Yeah.
He's ranting while he's paying for these khakis. All right, is that it?
That's it for this week. We gotta talk about music.
And rants.
Rant about music.
Yes.
And comic books.
Music and comic books. Didn't we talk about guns for like 30 seconds?
Tried to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't do it on the Monday show.
I just couldn't keep it serious.
Yeah,
There's only so much bad news I can take in 1 week.
Hey, the spirit of the Monday show, it's the lighter fare because it's Monday.
That's right.
We bum you out on Friday because, you know, you got the weekend to look forward to. But thanks everybody who listens, downloads, shares, retweets. Fuck, all the goddamn internet verbiage. By the way, we're getting a goddamn whiteboard. I keep talking about it. We're getting a fucking whiteboard.
Why has it got to be white?
Oh, true. I guess we get a blackboard. We can write on a whiteboard with marker.
Why has it got to be goddamned?
Yeah. Why can't it be science damned?
Right, that's right.
Need that white chalk ingraining itself into the blackboard.
Randomly damned.
All right, see? Even inserting some racism into the end of the Monday show.
Me?
No, me. But thanks everybody.
I was racist last episode.
Yes.
It's your turn.
Well, that's so, Eric, it's your turn next time.
Well,
next week.
Yeah.
Next week.
Carrying the torch, maybe I'll put that middle-aged white man power to good use. So.
Right. If you make it, I mean, statistically, one of us is not going to be back for this next episode.
On that note, thanks everybody, and we'll see you on Friday.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
If you enjoy this show and want more people to know about it, head on over to iTunes, leave a comment, and rate it 5 stars. Make sure you like and share us on Facebook, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Just search for Christopher Media. Thank you in advance for supporting Christopher Media by clicking on the PayPal button and by clicking through to all the sponsors who support ChristopherMedia.net. Most importantly, we would like to take the time to extend an extra special thanks to you. Christopher Media could not exist without your support. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net, and thank you for listening. Christopher Media. Let's make some noise. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.